Hi, my name is Mariah Wilson, and I am recording this for Module 3 Capstone assignment. And yeah, so first question is, who did you interview and why did you choose to interview them? I interviewed a very nice gentleman named John, who works at the Pacific Center for Intercultural Peacebuilding in Fiji. And he was very kind and made a time slot in his day to talk to us about his occupation. And it was really interesting and a really cool experience to see how this is applicable in an occupation, and just to see it playing out in the real world. It was really a good opportunity. A reason why I decided to interview John was first off through connections, and it just kind of worked out. Like I asked around other students in the class and see who they were interviewing, and they told me about the Pacific Center, and so I was able to get in contact with John, and it worked out with his schedule, my schedule, and I also was referred to him by another person in the restorative justice community, or someone who works in restorative justice, and they said that he was a really interesting candidate because he used to be a police officer, so he used to work in like that side of law enforcement, and I thought that was interesting. So he had a lot of interesting views on this. And the second question is, in what way does this person incorporate restorative justice principles into their work? And he talked a lot about how he works with the police directly, and those in the correctional facility, and children welfare, and also the administering of educations, which I'll come back to at the end. He says primarily in his job he works in victim offender conflict circles and just working with inmates and police officers, and he does a lot of trainings with those in the law enforcement, and he has a lot of familiarity with that group of people because he used to work in law enforcement, and so he's able to relate and understand them and like what it's like to be in that position, which I think is really a good way and a good outlook for him to teach restorative justice principles, to like know his audience. Yeah, so I thought that's cool that he does something in his like his everyday work, and some principles that he applies in that is he talked a lot about just like the conflict circles and the victim and offender dialogue that happens, and like how he is trained to like handle those situations, and how he also talked about building relationships with the community is like a really important part of his job and an important part of those RJ circles, and just like the training that he gives out. It's really important to be building foundations and relationships within the community and those around him. And so my the third question is, connect your conversation with restorative justice theories, practices we've done in class. And I kind of talked about that just with like understanding victim and offender or dialogue, and building relationships with communities. And another important point that I wrote down that I thought was interesting is he talked a lot about how people in their justice system will often like come back into, like once you're in the system, then they'll get put through it again and again and again. But he said he's seen a difference and a change and a big impact on how restorative justice ends that circle for them, how they don't usually come back to prison or back to that incarceration. So I thought that was interesting that he actually firsthand saw a difference with those that he was mediating or facilitating. So I thought that was interesting. And then the fourth question is, what new ideas or interests did the conversation with this person spark in you? Is there anything else you want your classmates to know about this person? Just examples in their career and internship opportunities. So a couple things that I took away and thought was pretty interesting is that he mentioned that RJ restorative justice and implementing that into administration of education. And I think in the future I'll want to be a special education teacher and work within just bettering education and the way that conflicts are handled within an education system. And I think RJ and peace building and education, all the three things I love, can just like come together in this. I also thought that where he works in Fiji, like he was just talking about that establishment and just like his awesome coworkers and how they're all very qualified and have these great credentials, and I just thought it would be an awesome opportunity to maybe go there and meet these awesome people with these awesome experiences, firsthand experiences. Yeah, and I don't know, I think it was he had a great outlook on things, and it was cool to see that, and it was really interesting to see how he thought that at the beginning when he was a police officer is that once a criminal, always a criminal, and he himself went through the restorative justice like classes, and his mindset totally switched, and now he's able to go and teach other officers and other folks in the community that people are people, and that restorative justice is an opportunity for the offender and the victim to be able to communicate with each other and get almost the closure and still have the offender be held accountable. And it's just a really great tool and source, and he saw it firsthand, and he talked about how rewarding the fruits were in this occupation, that he loves his job, and just really cool opportunity. So thank you, and that's it.